Joining me now from Nairobi is Mamadou Dian Balde, the UNHCR's Regional Director for Eastern Africa. Thank you so much for your time. The UN is describing this war as the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, yet consistently we seem to forget about this war, with global attention being very much focused on Gaza and Ukraine. So why is this horrendous conflict not getting the attention it so deserves?
So today we are having this very sad milestone. We are reaching this very sad milestone of 2 years of a brutal conflict, the most horrible protection crisis that we have witnessed the past few years. And yes, 13 million people have been obliged to leave their houses in Sudan, 8 million staying inside the country and 4 million going into neighboring countries that have problems of their own, but where government communities have opened their borders, have opened their houses, opened their communities so that they can show real solidarity. Neighboring countries have shown solidarity. International community should show much bigger solidarity to the Sudanese brothers and sisters who've been obliged to flee their country due to this brutal conflict.
The military's recapture of Khartoum last month was a major symbolic victory, yet the RSF has also consolidated its holds on the areas it still controls, such as vast stretches of western and southern Sudan, including the Darfur and Kordofan regions. Are we in fact witnessing a de facto partition?
The humanitarian situation inside Sudan is quite horrible and not something that we wish we could see in the 21st century. We still see people who cannot go home, people who have seen their rights violated, people who have seen family members killed, and this is what you described about what is happening in Darfur, as well as what is happening and what has happened in other parts of Sudan, in the Kordofan. So what we are seeing today is indeed a situation whereby 1 in 3 Sudanese is displaced, and where 1 in 13 Sudanese is a refugee among the global refugee populations that we are faced with. And the call to peace, the call to a ceasefire is as relevant as ever, so that we do not have to go through a 3rd year of this brutal conflict.
And we've also heard stories of sexual violence against women and girls, which have been incredibly horrific, with some women committing suicide to avoid being raped. Yet another appalling side of this conflict.
Absolutely. The horrible human rights violations that our teams who are inside Sudan, as well as our teams who are in these neighboring countries, are teams that I met when I was in Chad a few weeks ago, or when I was inside Sudan, in South Sudan, in Ethiopia. These horrible stories are appealing. They are really outrageous, and we could not have this level of violations of international humanitarian law and international human rights law today.
Is there a way out? Is there any sense of both sides at all seeking a peace deal?
Very sadly, we have not seen any major push for peace, for ceasefire. Efforts are being made, and the appeals that we make, and this is what we hear from Sudanese we meet inside Sudan, outside Sudan, refugees that have been hosted in Sudan, because also before the conflict, Sudan was a major refugee hosting country. All the pleas that we are hearing is accelerate ceasefire efforts, accelerate the return to peace. And another major point is that people who are outside Sudan, the 4 million refugees and the partners who are providing them with support, we are only funded at 10%. 10%. This is almost the fifth month of the year. We need to step up our efforts to alleviate suffering on the one hand, as well as to create conditions for peace and ceasefire. This is the call we hear from the refugees and the internally displaced persons that we meet.
Mamadou Dian Balde, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.